No, I just can't bear it. I don't like it.
No, Conan can watch it. He can be on it while I'm scanning. Cody was mad because he got one of it.
In a time and age where we have seen a plethora of bad things happen and their lasting effects, there are still some things we have a hard time grasping from the past. In 1931 alone, more than 20,000 Americans committed suicide. Not only did it leave its death toll, but the crash of the stock market left financial ruin and panic. It left many people without jobs or means to support families. It also left a survival mindset for all that persevered it. Many people who survived the Depression remained frugal, wary of banks, and suspicious of stock markets. Next, many of them were subjected to a number of medical problems both then and now. Finally, even though they are now frail and elderly, they have to have a tough mindset to make it through the things they have. I will try to paint a picture of strength that was needed both then and now. Many people from the Great Depression became set in ways from that time period, such as being frugal, hoarding food, and being wary of banks. They tell me the lights are a waste of energy. Frugality is their middle name. Our now grandparents were born into a less prosperous time than our privileged selves. They look at things through a different lens than we do. Credit cards are dangerous, admonished Jerry Langland, 85. Save up if you want something. They may be wary of items we find to be luxuries, yet that stems from hardships from a younger age. They learn firsthand that the economy isn't a rock-solid system. Though they are more skeptical of newer things, such as banking improvements, and lean towards frugality, it's not always negative. Frugality and skepticism of banks weren't the only things affected. Health is and was a great factor. Have you seen a child with rickets, shaking as with palsy, no protein, no milk? Do you know the lasting effects that can happen from lack of protein? What happens when, as a growing child, you don't get all the nutrients you need? Failure to get sufficient nutrients will lead to damage, tooth decay, weakened bones, and hair loss. Heart muscles weaken. Lasting effects. Some people develop mental disabilities from lack of the diet. It severely impairs them to where it is hard for them to live on their own. Children in that era are have more prevailing problems. Children not being healthy enough is due to a domino of effects. To the fall of market, jobs became scarce, making it hard for families to afford food for children, leading to them being malnourished. They had lack of proteins to grow, stunting growth, and causing diseases such as rickets. Death as a result, even though the survivors can now suffer from low bone density or gastrointestinal problems, that doesn't mean they are weak. In order to survive such a hard period of time, you have to develop a certain tough mindset. You have to be both mentally and physically tough. Some individuals may clearly display criteria associated with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, but many more exhibit resilient responses. I think that a majority of survivors from the Great Depression exhibit that sort of resilient response. They endured multiple factors that left lasting effects. They are still kicking. They may exhibit signs of anxiety or agitation, minor compared to other trauma that they could deal with. Delayed response to trauma can increase persistent. Delayed responses to trauma can include persistent fatigue, sleep disorders, nightmares, fear of reoccurrence, anxiety focused on flashbacks, depression and avoidance of emotion, sensation, or activities related to trauma. All of these are examples of trauma that can last a lifetime, regardless of the strong mentality. A strong mentality is needed to survive. Many things can cause traumatic events, but the way you view them and let them get to you can make all the difference. The Great Depression definitely took its toll on the population of the United States, but that doesn't mean they haven't bounced back with a burning fire. The effects of the Great Depression had many types of effects on us, not just mental. Being a frugal person that is weary of banks, it's hard to trust a system that let you down once before. They were subjected to a great deal of medical issues because of malnutrition. Seeing these things gives you a mental strength that people of our time and age don't understand. While the Great Depression was a time of great loss and heartache from the experience, many things were learned. Looking back to the people from the past, we may be able to learn from the mistakes they made and show sympathy for the people that had to endure that wretched time.